Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to, unfortunately, the last of the Breed to Succeed for 2021. Brett Coffey joins me down the bottom. Welcome, Brett.
Paul, viewers.
Going to be a big episode, and Nick Hooper as well joins me. Thank you very much, Nick.
Paul, great to be here. Really looking forward to this.
We've got quite a few people already on. We've got some very loyal people there. Nellie Melba's one of those, Graham Riley, Craig Judd and Alexander Hurley. Please fire your questions in. These gentlemen are going to talk about what they've got going on as far as how you come to your breeding, I suppose, breeding the perfect horse, if you like, the websites you use, and then also got some analysis. How would you best describe them, Brett?
We're each looking at a broodmare and sort of analysing her pedigree and making a selection of what stallion we might choose.
Absolutely, huge show here tonight. G's already in. Welcome to you, Dot. We're going to give a quick shout out to a couple of our sponsors. We've got quite a few sponsors as well, but they're there on the side. But tonight there'll be two people that'll be very, very lucky to walk away. One person's going to walk away with a free service fee to Pastor Stephen, donated by Lower Long Farm, formerly Northern Rivers Equine, Dr. Kath McIntosh. You can also see there Barrastock and Kentucky Equine. That will be drawn a little bit later on in the night, probably about 10 o'clock, Nick, would you say?
Well, that early.
and then we've also got a free service fee to American Ideal, kindly donated by Woodland Stud, and again Barrastock and Kentucky Equine. And after the win of Triple Eight last night. He is the flavour of the month. I know Lara J Farms is there. Greg Fasitano's on as well. We've got quite a few people. Warren Johnson, hi to you as well. So plenty of people have tuned in. Got it on my YouTube feed, but it hasn't quite worked there. It's actually on the big TV. Nick, you wear a few hats. Here tonight you're the writer of a book. What was that book called?
The book, Stallions.
That's it. I just thought we might give it a little plug. Oh, we've got props.
This one.
We've got props already. I would have been upset. That one wasn't staged. I didn't actually know that one was going to be coming. The other hat that you do wear as well, though, is you are the president of Harness Breeders Victoria, and I thought we'll just have a quick chat over about what is actually going on very quickly. We're not going to go for very long because that wasn't the official part of it, but from the president's point of view, just a few things you probably got to add, mate.
Yeah, look, nothing major right at this minute to announce, but we are expecting Harness Racing Australia to come back with round 2 on the stallion levy proposal, probably in a different guise from what we can gather. We expecting that if HRA's executive decide to put that out, that it'll come out to consultation later this month. So we'll be watching that with interest. I think HRV have got some announcements on prize money coming up shortly. So we've had the opportunity to speak to them about some of that and put some ideas forward. So we're looking forward to that. But I think obviously with the change of season, the stallions are starting to be collected, the mares are starting to cycle, the foals are hitting the ground. So it's the best time of year for breeding, and wish all of our members the best of luck with impending foalings and pregnancies to be generated.
And that's it. That is the shortest president's speech ever for any Harness Breeders Victorian thing. And Brett will attest to that. Brett, you also wear a few hats. Alabar Farms, number one. I haven't seen if Alan's on. He is possibly watching. He tends to watch quite regularly. But also, so as part of that, semen transportation. And again, we're in COVID time, so it's going to be a little bit tricky. So I thought we'd get a bit of a reaffirmation, I suppose, of when the semen collection dates, when people need to get those orders in by for the studs. And people need to be aware that this is very, very tricky times for you guys as well, isn't it, Brett, with all your stallions and trying to juggle collections and getting those doses out at the right time?
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. Look, it's it'll be similar to last year, though. I mean, we'll get through it. We've got some good systems in place from last year, so it'll be the same in Victoria. It'll be the same Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday collects in the afternoon. That means orders for the Australian stallions to be in by 1 p.m. on Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and the orders for the New Zealand stallions to be in by 11 a.m. on those days. So I think most people will be pretty used to that by now. So that's good. I think, as I said before, we've put some things in place from last year that will carry over this year, and I think we'll, we might be able to refine it a little bit more. And and hopefully COVID doesn't get any worse.
No, definitely, and that is key. So I'll just get you to go again through those times, because I was actually posting something on my Instagram account at the same time. at least I was honest.
Social media influencer, Paulie Campbell. So collection day, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and orders for the Australian Stallions by 1 p.m. on those days, and orders for the New Zealand Stallions at 11 a.m. on those days.
Very good. Very, very important times. Them, I should have wrote them down the first time. Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 1 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Not hard to remember, but please just be patient for everyone involved, especially the studs. People are going to be under a lot of pressure early on in the season too, because it is a very, very good season. Okay, let's roll this along. You guys are going to start doing a couple of presentations. Nick, if you like, you can actually let Brett's screen get shared, because I've put myself up on there, so you can do all that. It's just a little bit clunky with some of the things we've got to do tonight, but basically what the boys are going to do is actually go through some of the websites that they use and how they go about it. Nick's there nodding. I'm hoping he's getting this so Brett can share his screen. Well done.
Yep,
we are.
Brett should be able to do that. So that's right. We're going to go through a few websites. Some of it you might have seen last year when we did some of these sessions. So there's a little bit of refresher and a few new things for people to have a look at. We've got an announcement from Harness Racing Australia that we'll go through that's quite exciting, with info on their website. So we'll show that to everyone as a sneak preview of something that's going to become available very shortly. And then the two of us have each got a PowerPoint presentation. One might be slightly longer than the other, but that's all right. We'll race through them as quickly as we can. So that's basically the plan, and then we'll draw the raffles at the end of the two presentations.
Brett, just before you start, there's a little icon. I'm actually going to move it right now. It says that I'm actually talking. I will definitely try and keep that out of people's way. Just bear with me a little bit. I can't give a complete clean screen the way this all set up little work. So if Brett's talking about something that's covered up, bear with me. I will be trying to maneuver it. Don't worry about that. It just says that myself, Brett and Nick are here talking. So I'll get that out of the way. Over to you, Brett. We'll let you go. We've got quite a few people, Brett, before you start. Graham, love the modern version of Stallions, which is great. Al Morrow's getting involved as well, and Vicky Morrow and Harness Breeze Victoria. So fire your questions in at any stage. I'll get the questions asked to the boys when they come up for air. The first bloke's a little bit easy to come up for air. The second guy, good luck to us. But over to you, Brett.
Thanks, Paul. So just quickly, before when we're starting here, we'll touch on some websites that we use frequently. So this is the USTA Crosses of Gold. It's about $50 US, I think, to subscribe for a year, but it's this website that I use a lot when I'm looking at matchups. So I've just jumped onto ArtSpace here, obviously one of the best broodmare sites of all time, and it gives you a really good, succinct sort of snapshot of the stones that his mares have worked with. So if you go right down the bottom here, you go down to the summary there, had 5,626 foals out of ArtSpace mares. So that's quite a lot. And then if you go across here, you can see here, this column here actually reflects the number of $100,000 earners. So he's had 1,233 $100,000 or better winners at a rate of 22%, which is quite good, or very good actually. And then here is the average earnings per foal, so 84,000, which is exceptional. And then it goes across median and minus top earner. So all those numbers are great. So then if you sort of go through, you can scroll through, you can see which crosses are working well, which might be above average. If we look here, Western Ideal over ArtSpace mares, an above average cross, left a lot of good horses. Village Jiffy, another one. Many good stallions here. Some beach somewhere, obviously, left Captain Treacherous, but a lot of other good ones as well. 45%, $100,000.
Brett, what about Always a Virgin? How's he gone with ArtSpace?
He's one good one. Mate, you scroll at the top, 110,000, 62, 21. So it's around average. Slightly better perhaps, but falls probably away after the top earner a little bit. So. So you go through that. I always just look at that just initially. It gives you a quick snapshot of things. I really like it. The other two for the paces that, other three, obviously harness.org.au. I've got Mac3 loaded up here. This is a free service. It's really valuable. You can either, look at the lifetime winners. I've got to put my login in there. But you can look at the lifetime winners, and that gives you a quick snapshot as well. You can go through there, see the broodmare size. You can also sort by broodmare size as well. It's a really good service. It's free and really valuable. Harness Racing New Zealand have their info horse, which is also good. Slightly different data, but still really good. You can look at the lifetime stats for any stallion, but then you can also look at if you go to the Progeny page. Hopefully this loads a little bit quicker than what it is. There we go.
So that's hrnz.co.nz as per up the top. Yep.
And then you can sort, put a minimum age there. So you want to look at 3-year-olds and above, and you can maybe, just put it in whatever, Mac3 over Badlands Hanover mares. So that's the broodmare side there. And then that'll give you all the horses out of Badlands Hanover mares by Mac3, which is really cool. So it's really easy to search, put some filters in there, and you can, do your own research there. So they're probably three pacing ones I use. This is a website which I don't know how many people in Australia actually use. It's called Bretta'S Bible, predominantly a Northern Hemisphere website, European based, but has a lot of the North American stats in there as well. It has a fair bit of Australian and New Zealand stats in there, but it's not complete. So it's a useful tool, but it's probably not, it's not 100% accurate, I suppose. But for the European and for the North American statistics and information, it's actually quite good. It's a bit more expensive. I think it's around $200 US a year, but it's quite good. You've got a lot of information there. You can look at the pedigree, you can look at the offspring. You can do a catalogue page, which is sort of cool. It's not a great catalogue page, but it's quite good. I'll put in Desperate Man, who won the North America Cup.
I wasn't sure if you was talking about you or me there, Nick. I wasn't sure which way you was going with that one for a minute.
I think he was reflecting on himself.
Definitely. But this gives you a quick little catalogue page. So it's not as good as what you get in your sale catalogue, but it does give you a good little look at the family if you want to look at that.
Who was the broodmare sire, Brett?
Broodmare sire, Arts Place, yeah.
Funny that.
It's probably going to feature a little bit in this breed and 6 seed, I would imagine, Arts Place. So,
well, he will, and I mean, let's have it. If people go and have a look at all of the stallions, the pacing stallions that are standing and are in the good old Bible, which if you have a look at the pedigrees there, have a look at how many of them are out of Arts Place mares. It's quite staggering.
It's incredible, really. But then you can also do hypothetical matings. We'll just do Desperate Man as an example, but
Brett's gone quiet. Quiet TV's no good for us, Brett.
Sorry, Paulie.
So, Brett, just while you are going a little bit quiet there, although you've got this up now, so I'll let you keep going. I'll let you keep going.
Give you an idea. It's just the same as you'll see on other sites, but it just gives you an idea of how they display it, I suppose.
So those colours are giving the duplications. I mean, I think most people would know what they're looking at there, but for those who aren't, that's representing the duplications in the pedigree. So you can see the 3 albatross duplications there quite clearly.
Yeah, exactly. So
just while you're
for your European information, this site is quite good. So if I put in Love You, it gives you a lot of information, which obviously I'm going to touch on the French website in a little bit, but for us non-French speaking people, it's is quite a good website to use.
So
it's taking a little while to load this.
Brett, just very quickly while you're doing that, the Breeders' Bible, you're talking predominantly about pacing stallions, but obviously just answer me question because we've got Love You Up. So as far as international and the way a lot of the stallions are going through Duncan McPherson and Pat Driscoll with or Alabar and Park and Rasta trotters, this would be a great way to get an understanding of some of these breeds that you may not necessarily be able to get your head right around.
Absolutely, Paul. Yeah, because as I said, like when you're looking at the French stones, say, or even the Swedish stones, it's hard to understand. It's hard to get a read on. So this does give you a bit of information, which and then which makes it a bit easier. I just find it easier to look at, instead of actually going to French websites and stuff like that as well. But gives you easy to understand, easy to access. Look at these European stallions. So that's the Breeders' Bible, or breedersbible.com. I'll just quickly jump onto the French website, which is latro.com. I recommend the best thing you can do here is download the Google Translate plugin for Chrome if you use Chrome, and it easily adjusts everything. It doesn't quite work 100% all the time, but it works good enough most of the time. So so this has got plenty of information here. It's obviously displays it a little bit differently than what we're used to, but still gives you some good information. And then say you want to look up Ready Cash. You can look up his full race record. You can watch some of his videos as well. But then you click on the breeding side. Gives his full pedigree there, which is obviously a lot of words that a lot of names probably that aren't really familiar with most people in Australia.
Brett, scroll down there. There was a name that appeared in that pedigree that.
Sorry, I've just buggered that up.
Oh, we're bouncing around. It was Workaholic is a name that appears in a lot of French pedigrees. He was an American stallion who was allowed in when they had that small window a number of years ago.
Yes.
And Speedy Crown stallion who he appeared in that other pedigree you pulled up, and here he appears in a lot of French pedigrees and may not be known by too many down here, but he is of the highest quality if you're looking at French blood.
What I find interesting, Nick, when you raise that, is that they don't actually have his pedigree in there, and that's the same with all the American sort of stallions, which I find interesting.
Right. It was a shameful part of their French harness racing history. Clearly, they let the Yanks in.
I lived in France for half a year, for 6 months or whatever. It's amazing how how proud they are of their heritage, I suppose. And another name that if you just scroll down a fraction again that was highlighted is another one is Florestan, a son of Star's Pride, who appears in a lot of the best French pedigrees as well. So I got my hands on a copy of the French equivalent of our Stallion Guide a year or so ago, and just flicking through that, it was amazing to see all of the names in there. But you get a good idea of it looking on this website too. Yeah.
Just before you get off that, and you're probably going to cross off on it in a sec, Nick, but just explain one of yours. I don't care if it's Nick or Brett. Just the way the French does work, because I've done a couple of in-depth conversations. It's very long-winded, if you like, but just how they actually, I suppose, accept horses to stand at stud in France, because it's very, very different.
It is, yeah. Look, to be honest, off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what their qualifications. But you do need to be, meet a standard, and the standard that you meet then determines, what category you are, and also if you're if you're a stallion, how many mares you can serve and all that sort of stuff. So it is a lot more regulated, the breed, which is interesting. I don't know whether I agree with it, but it is interesting.
One of the other things I found very interesting, I wasn't sure if you were going to talk then, Nick, or not, but is that they don't transport the semen. You take the mare to the stud. They still do AI, but the mares actually have to be on the stud when they serve them.
Yeah, when I was looking through their Stallion Guide, that I became aware of that when I was with my schoolboy French, and what I couldn't understand, I again stuck in the old Google Translate, and that became apparent. It's a little bit old school in a sense, and They have a very large number of stallions standing all throughout France. Of interest, the UK, which has mainly been pacing led, has actually had the French deliberately, well, not deliberately, a strategic program of importing French trotting blood into England and also funding the races. And the way it's going, the pacing looks as though it might be in trouble because the prize money for the French trotting races is far higher than the pacing races. And of course, people follow the money. So they're interestingly trying to export their blood into the UK.
If anyone wants to sit down and watch it, I did a interview, it's on both my pages, but with Dave Sanders, who does Pedigree, and he went into great in-depth. It's the sort of thing that you want to sit down and listen to if you're interested in it. It's not something that if you think, oh, it'd be a good listen, you may not enjoy it, but it is very, very in-depth the way the French works. So it's a very different field. Sorry, Brett, we are distracting you, and you are the quick presenter, not the slow one, so this is going to be a long night. But anyway, sorry, Brett, back to you, mate.
No, I just quickly went to Ready Cash's production there, so then you can get an idea of these his best horses here. And you can then click on their name, get their pedigree. You can also watch some of their races as well, which gives you an idea of how the progeny sort of might go. The other cool thing I like about this website is it's got this PDF here. You click that and it will actually give you a PDF of what we've just seen on the screen. So I sort of like that because then you can quickly just email it to someone or whatever. It's actually a cool little feature. It doesn't tell you anything different than what's on this page, but it just gives you that PDF. It allows you to to transfer it and send it to people or whatever. So the Troy website's really good. Just get that Google Translate and click it over to English because it saves you a lot of time.
Does it cost, Brett? You didn't give a price for that one.
And the final one I'll mention tonight is Breedly. This is more the Swedish based website. It's exceptional as well. Gives you a stack of information. And if I type in one of the sponsors, horses. Oh, sorry, not Classic Connection. Sorry, I'm getting confused. Pastor Stephen.
Did you feel that gust of wind there, Nick?
Oh, God, it's not coming up. Maybe because he's not.
I'm waiting for a text message to come through saying what the hell's going on.
Brett, can I tell you why? And I'm being serious.
No, here he is. It's okay.
Got him.
So then, I will. It's already in English. Beautiful, and that gives you his pedigree. Some information. I don't really get involved in this breeding coefficients, inbreeding coefficients. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't really pay that much attention to it, to be honest. Gives you his height, which is cool. In centimeters, you just convert that to hands. And then the other good thing is this gives you a direct link to the Swedish actual stud book. I won't go into that, but that's a nice website to waste hours on as well. And then it's a really nice website. This one gives you a bit more information about the stallion. Well worth looking at is breedly.com. That's all his progeny there. You will have to break out the currency conversion to figure out sort of how much a Swedish krona is compared to an Aussie dollar, but it's well worth it. This site, breedly.com, that's all free, so it gives you a lot of information there, which is well worth it.
So that one's free, Brett?
Yep, that one's free. Yeah. Yep.
One thing I just want to ask you just there very quickly, when you were trying to type his name in, if anyone goes to it, you didn't finish with the name. Do you wait for it to show it up, or was it that?
Sorry, it just took a little bit of time. My internet must be a little bit slow tonight. It's just taking a little bit of time to show up. But if you just type that name in there, and it'll come up eventually. Don't
talk about slow internet or no internet, or power outages or anything like that. All right, we just we're soldiering on. Okay, we're doing a bit of codral in this COVID times. Brett, Breedly is free. Le Trot, was that free as well, mate?
Yeah, that's free. So that's basically just the French stud book, online. So it's free. It's and really good information.
Very good. So, is that you finished with your websites?
That is, yes.
Rightio. So
I will stop sharing.
What I can do here so that people aren't sort of working out where everyone's going while Nick's getting himself up and going. Brett, just Breeders' Bible, Golden Cross, like Golden Cross or Crosses of Gold was $50. Breeders' Bible was $200, and then the other two are free. Can you see value in that, like even the $200 or the $50 compared to a couple of those others?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they all do different little, different things. You might not need all of them, but I have all of them because it's just a bit of a breeding nuff. There's definitely value in especially the Crosses of Gold, I suppose. I like that for $50. It's $50 US or whatever that works out to be. But for a quick snapshot, it's really data rich, so it gives you a lot of good information.
Very, very good. Nick, I believe you're ready to go. So do I get in the sleeping bag yet, or is this a small section and we get in the sleeping bag a bit later on?
Well, you can hop in. I mean, there's no need to nod off. You can just make yourself comfortable, a hot chocolate, and just sort of put the slippers by the side of the sleeping bag. My screen is sharing, is it?
Yes, you're away, mate. You're on.
All right. Okay, first one is coming off harness.org.au. Again, I think most people will be aware of it, but coming via products, Stallion Selector. This has been taken up by a number of the studs, not all of them. Brett, you changed over a year or so ago from test mating to Stallion Selector. How have you found it?
Oh yeah, quite good, thanks, Nick. It's been good. There are a couple of things that probably need a little bit of changing, but they're working on those. The good thing about Stallion Selector is it runs straight off the Australian and New Zealand databases, so the information is all correct. Every mare should be in there, which is good. So that gives you that complete picture, I suppose, and then no need to add your own mare in. So that's the main advantage that we've found.
Nick, can I just slow you down 1 sec before you get started? And I don't like doing that. Where exactly did you go to find that? In which section was it? Sorry, you were a bit quick on the buttons. Products.
Okay, over here on the right under products, you'll find Stallion Selector.
Very good. Yep, that's fine.
It may well ask you to put some details in when you go to it, and that information I think will go to the studs, and you might be contacted by them. But so that's a matter for the individual to decide if they want to proceed. But you do need to do that, and I'd already done that before we did this. And then you can filter however you like. You can choose all of the Alabar stallions, or if I said, no, I want to, this is a pacing mare, so let's, we'll go with Cobbity Equine and see how Captain Midnight matched up with Saliqua, then, so on and so forth. And so the duplications here are shown, they're not coloured, so you've got to do a little bit of manual review, if you like, because they're all coloured blue. But perhaps that's something that HRA can work on going forward. Sure, it's not that difficult, and you get all of the duplications shown there as that example. So a really good, really easy to use. All of the mares should be here. You can pick whatever you like. Another one of mine, just for the fun of it, and see, what sort of matches that you're getting, and really useful. So, but not every stud is represented there. Some of them is still using test mating. Before I come off the harness.org.au, via racing and the national top 20, we talked about this last year, but you've got the sires and the broodmare sires data. And again, there's different ways that you can modify what you're looking at to see how the stallions are going. Again, I think most people will be aware of that, but you've got all that up to date. There are previous years available in the Chronicles, so you can go back and have a look at previous years if that's of interest to you. Our sponsors, Northern Rivers Equine and Woodlands, both use test mating, which is, we'll get that to come on up. So as it's having a think about it.
It's one of the joys of everyone being locked at home. Everyone's Wi-Fi's are slow or internet's are slow from time to time. So
yes, that's right. So you got the I've clicked on test mating, then click on the link. Once again, I'll just go with Saliqua just for the fun of it. Then pick a stallion. Let's go American Ideal because, and then has to think about it. And then up comes with the blues and the reds. Now the reds, of course, are duplicated mares, and the blues are duplicated stallions. You can click on the circle up here, and it will adjust so that you get the colour duplications. If you it makes it a little easier for you to see. So if I bred Saliqua to American Ideal, I'd get a 3x3 to Matt Scooter in the middle of the pedigree, bit of Abercrombie and some no nukes. Not a bad pedigree match there in my mind, but that's just an example. And it's pretty easy to navigate. Change the stallion. All right, I'm going to go poster boy. And, well, that'll give me a 3x2 to Mach 3, obviously, and some art place duplication as well. So Northern Rivers are doing it with test mating. Same with Woodlands. So again, American Ideal. Once you've found your way to each of the stallions' pages, you can then click on the test mating option. And this will ask for details. I won't put all of those details in now because we don't have the time, but you'll end up with a similar page to what we saw elsewhere. So it's so if that's of interest to people watching, if you weren't aware of it, a couple of different ways of getting that information. A couple of other websites worth noting. Website called All Breed Pedigree, again mainly Northern Hemisphere. There is a free service listed here, and then you can subscribe and get a lot more detail. If we put American Ideal in there, we end up with his pedigree, and it's all clickable to move on to others in the pedigree. The colours representing the duplications. So All Breed Pedigree, it obviously covers more than standard breds as well, but a large North American and European database. Another one is the bloodbank.info, a European website that has a fair bit of that data that Brett showed in La Trotte. In this case, Pastor Stephen, duplications in colour, and the reverse cross of Valley Victory over Speedy Crown, which is happened with amazing success, is duplicated with Pastor Stephen on the dam side the other way round, which I think says a fair bit about why Pastor Stephen and Father Patrick were so successful. But then you get data on a range of other statistical things that, again, some of it means nothing to me and might mean a lot to others, but it has those sort of statistics. A fantastic, well, it's an Australian website, but is international in its focus, is Classic Families. It's classicfamilies.net. Having said that, you may have trouble getting into it because it's had some security issues over the last year or two. If you type in Classic Families into Google, go to the second option and that'll get you in. Amazing amount of information here on winners of classic races, elite performers. I'll just put Saliqua in, and you get her pedigree. Not every horse is in here. You have to have hit a criteria. You have to either won a classic race, gone a certain time, or have left a classic winner to be in this database. So it's not 100% complete, but it has descendants. Well, in her case, well, you then need to log in. So we might just do that. So you will need a login. In fact, I'll just go back to the details and I'll give a better example, because if we come back down this family line and we then look at descendants, you then get an opportunity to, by clicking on the plus, it opens its way up, and so we can find our way and see who is appearing in the family, and so really quite useful. And a fantastic pedigree page appears in that test mating style at the end of it, with the duplication shown, and in this case is immediately malleable. So if I wanted to have a look at Regal McKinney, it just clicks and it goes to Regal McKinney. So really useful classic families if you're not aware of it. For those, this is possibly the best website of all of them. Absolutely superb website. Paul's not looking. So
I'm trying to read some of the comments. I'm sorry, for some reason I'm not getting the comments coming through on my feed.
That's
Brett.
all right.
And Nick, sorry, but Brett's answering those behind the scenes, but we will get to some of those as they go. So I found them anyway. I'm just not sure why I'm not getting them. And yes, Nick, I think this is possibly the best website on the internet at the minute, is it not?
Correct. So the online stallion guide, for those who haven't got their hard copy, haven't found it, that's how you get there. And new feature this year was first year stallions videos embedded here.
Geez, they're good video. They're good videos. I wonder who did those.
I'm not sure. I'll see if I can find out, and then we'll let everybody know. So just some of the features there. The other thing I just wanted to touch on, Harness Racing Australia, if we think back to, Brett, what you showed about the US crosses of gold, HRA are producing the same thing off their database. We've got a static PDF version of Art Major here, but they're busy putting that onto the website, and it should be available in the next month or two for everyone to have the benefit of the same data that's in the US data bank, but for the Australian horses. So look out for that one. Well done, HRA. I think that's fantastic given the data they've got. It'll make everyone's life easier trying to work out the other crosses when you're trying to pick certain stallions. So real good stuff there. Paul, I might unshare my screen because I think that's the last of the websites and the like before we do the two presentations.
So I'm just trying to get through a couple of these. Brett's answered a few of those back. Jen, hi Jenny. Brett, I might let you go for a couple of those. You know which ones you've answered and which ones you haven't, mate. And Brett might not be there. Brett's doing the same as me.
Yeah, no, I'm here. Sorry, yep.
Jenny Lewis, when you're referring to crosses out of an art placed mare, are you also meaning mares that have arts placed in their pedigree, such as mares by Art Major? And then you answered that one referring only to art placed mares for an example. Have I thrown you under the bus, Brett?
No, that's fine.
So, yep, so that one's answered. Just trying to... How many double crosses would be regarded as a good match, Kerry Lee?
It depends. I
don't think there's a fixed...
It depends totally. It doesn't... Yeah, I don't think it matters how many crosses you have or how many crosses you don't have. I think where they are and what's worked before matters a lot more than that. Yeah.
I agree.
Graham Riley said there, is there any good European sites? I think, Brett, you covered off on a couple, or three of them, basically. The Breeders' Bible, I think, does Europeans, yes. La Trotte and Breedley. And the last two of those are actually free. Recently in New Zealand, Always Be Mickey was bred to a part Arab mare, and the 2-year-old has shown ability in the trials. Is there an opportunity we should be taking up in Victoria?
Crandall-Getty's got a Always Be Mickey that's grandmother, I think, is an Arab mare. So that's what Wazza is referring to.
Okay, very good. Jackie Ingham, who works for Lower Long Farms and bought it last year. She's doing a good job, Jack. Well done to you. How do you decide if a mare suits a first season sire? And I reckon this is a great one. Where would you suggest they go to for that?
I would. It's a real good question. I look at what their dads have done because often you'll get a similar crosses, and then also take into account what sort of mares they're out of. So that's important as well. just as an Alabar example, because that's what I remember most recently, like Rock and Roll Heaven and Storm Inside are both by Rock and Roll Hanover out of Arts Place mares. So I reckon you're going to get similar type of crosses there. Now, the next dams are different, so that might change that a little bit. So, but, that's the sort of stuff I'd be looking at what the Stallions pedigree looks like, and then sort of trying to find examples that are similar in proven stones.
Jenny Lewis, on the classicfamily.net website, once you looked up a pedigree, it had X Factor that you could click on. What does this mean, please?
What the X Factor is it relates to, here's a good book, Understanding the Power of the X Factor, and I didn't write this one. What the X Factor is that a female horse will have 2 X chromosomes. A male horse has an X and a Y chromosome, and the male horse will receive the Y chromosome from its dad and the X chromosome from its mother, whereas a female will receive 1 X from father and mother. And basically, the X chromosome has a certain path, and it sort of zigzags its way through a pedigree, and I'll show that a little bit when I do my presentation. And it basically is thought to relate to the path of the gene that is more likely to influence size of heart. And the size of the heart is therefore meant to be an indication of the size of the engine. I don't know whether it's scientifically proven, but there is enough visual evidence to suggest that there is some merit, and it relates to broodmare sires and those things. So that's what it's referring to. I don't think you'd say it's scientific, but there's probably enough circumstantial evidence to suggest that there is some merit to it. But this book, believe it or not, and there's a partner book to it, is really good. So if you're interested in that stuff, get yourself a copy of that. I don't take commissions either, Paul, on that, so...
No, very good. Warren Johnson sent a message in about Lazarus standing at stud. We're not going to get into that, Warren, tonight. It's actually about the breed to succeed. I might catch up with Brett at some stage, and we can do a cross there going forward with the Vic Bred bonuses. You're spot on. Victoria is one of the best states to race in, so there's no worries there. Graham Riley, Nick, would you breed another Utopia? Very inbred.
Graham, you just have to wait for my presentation and the answer will reveal itself.
Rightio. Okay, keep firing them questions in, please. I encourage everyone to get involved. I really appreciate the feedback. We've got plenty of people watching as well, which is really good, and we want everyone to get involved. Keep going that way. Back on to me, Nick. So you fire that up so that Warren says thank you very much. Brett doesn't know it yet, Warren, but myself and he are going to probably catch up, and we'll talk about Lazarus and that going forward on the New Zealand show. Whenever you're ready, Nick, you can share that screen. So. No.
Brett's doing his share. He'll do his presentation, then I'll do mine.
Okay, Brett, whenever you're ready, you can do that. Otherwise, people have got to look at my melon with, no, if you notice, got a KER hat on and a Barristock jacket. Just putting it out there, just ready. Whenever you're right, Brett, you're good to go. It's fine.
Right,
hang on. You can't go that quick. I've got to flick the other screen. Right, the floor's yours, mate. Away you go.
Okay. So my presentation is going to be a little bit shorter than Nick's, so we'll get through it. So
71 pages.
Hey,
71 pages shorter.
Yeah, it's true. I think the first thing when you're looking to breed your mare is to define your objective. So, do you want to breed to race? Do you want to breed to sell? Some people want to breed a horse of a certain colour. Some people want to win the Wedderburn Cup, or some people want to win an Interdominion or whatever. So I think that's important to define your objectives. You should always be aiming to breed the best horse you can. But the reality is that some stones are not going to be commercial. Some mares are not going to be super commercial. So, it's not all about making money at all. Like it's about the journey, about having fun as well. So if you're in it just to make money, you've got to that's got to affect how you breed your horse and what sort of mares you breed from. But if you're just in it to have fun, and breed a good horse or breed a racehorse to hopefully win some races down the track, well, that changes things. So I think that's always important at the start to really define what you want to get out of it.
Just when you said there before about an Interdominion winner and a Wedderburn Cup, and should you always try to breed the best, or should you have like a little bit of a reality check at where you're at, and maybe set your, I suppose, your stallion budget accordingly?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you've got to. I think the reality is that we'd all love to own Pixel Perfect, or a horse like that, or all that glitters is gold. But the reality is that we can't, and most of us won't own a mare that those sort of mares. But it's still important to breed the best horse out of your mare, I suppose. And then and start with the best mare that you can afford as well. And we're obviously going to take punts on horses as well. We've all got mares that we maybe shouldn't breed, but we do for some reason, because they've got some sentimental value, or they showed ability that wasn't shown on the racetrack, those sort of things. So you've got mares that you take punts on, and then you've got mares that that you really got high hopes for as well. And both those mares I mentioned, Pixel Perfect and Order That Glitters is Gold, were no good on the racetrack. So it doesn't you can start with the best mare, and it doesn't always turn out to get the best results. So but you've got to be realistic, and you've got to probably set financial boundaries as well, like you said, Paul, because we all know things can go wrong. You don't want to stretch yourself too thin. So
just before you go, very quickly, Kerry Lee, thank you very much for saying you're loving this. And Nellie Melba, who was basically a first-time breeder last year, she's now directing the show. But yes, Nellie, we will get to that at the end of the show. We'll touch on it with the boys. There's no worries there. So just through the comments. Over to you, Brett, and I won't hold you up anymore, I promise.
No worries at all. Okay, so this is the mare I'm choosing to look at tonight. This is actually a mare that I own in partnership with Cameron Brown. It's a mare called Party Major. Put there, 2015 mare, side by Art Major, out of Champagne Party, who's by Socky's Adam. And she's a small to medium-sized mare, very solidly built, but not a big mare. So those are all factors to take into account. Now this is her pedigree on the screen. So when I'm looking at a pedigree, I look at she's by Art Major, so that Art's Place blood that we've talked about before. Art Major's got Big Towner in his pedigree, and Big Towner's a very important stallion when it comes to pedigrees. He's if you can duplicate him, it's advantageous. It works really well. She's also got some very prominent albatross in her pedigree. She's obviously out of a Socky's Adam mare, and then out of a Butler BG mare. So she's her dam, I suppose, is inbred to albatross. And then she's also got quite a few doses there of Tar Heel through obviously Art Major, but also through Socky's Adam, and then Sly Yankee down the bottom there as well. So sort of that's the first thing I do, is look at the mare's pedigree and sort of look at those key stallions in their pedigree, I suppose. And those are the ones that I think are important there. Now this is her catalogue pedigree. So this gives you an idea of her family. I do this not as much as look at the tabulated pedigree, but I think it's important to look through and see whether some stallions have had success with the family. Now it's not a real foolproof way of looking at what works, because you don't know how many times a sire might have been over mares in this pedigree, but it still gives you a good idea. Now, if you look through there, you've got Democrat Party, who's a half sister by American Ideal. So maybe you go American Ideal, that might work. Flash Party, won 2 races, went sub 2 minutes. You go down the page a bit further. Cowgirls and Indians was a really good horse by Real Desire. Abercrombie Line, a Rock and Roll Dance down there with Kang Jackie. And also there's another good one, LL Cool J, a Rock and Roll Dance. So maybe think about a Rock and Roll Dance there. American Ideal, again, American boy, really good performer, especially in the US, but he's won over 600 grand. So you've got American Ideal there. So immediately you think, okay, we've got a couple of Rock and Roll Dances, we've got a couple of American Ideals. Republican Party, Betta'S Delight as well. Now he's got some big raps on him. He's a horse at Crandall Geddes. He might come back this year and be one of the better horses of his generation. Stag Party, he's a horse that goes quite good. High-priced yearling now with Greg Norman, won first up the other day. So sort of go through there, you've got some good Betta'S Delight, some good American Ideals, some good rock and roll dancers. So they're all, potentially factors you take into account. To study what has worked. Now, we've gone through some of these websites previously, but they're things that we'll look up now. I'll go to harness.org, I'll look at, Art Major Mares. Look at Harness Racing New Zealand website again. The Stallion Guide's a great little resource because you can go through every stallion, you can see, and you can look up the dam size of all the top performers by stallions. So that's important. Go to harness.org.au now. Here we have all the top performers out of Art Major Mares. So obviously you've got the top one there, Sire Tribeca's by American Ideal. I think there's a couple of things here that when I've looked through this list before, you'll see a lot of stallions that are out of either Abercrombie or Arts Place mares. So you've got Roll with Joe there. He's out of Umbro Emerson, an Abercrombie line mare. Rock and Roll Heavens out of an Arts Place. An Arts Place mare. Betta'S Delight, full brother to Roll with Joe. Go down further, Western Ideal out of an Abercrombie mare. Max 3 out of an Abercrombie mare. Captain Treacherous out of an Arts Place mare. Max 3 Abercrombie, so Western Terror Arts Place. So there's a lot of those stallions that have got out of Abercrombie line mares. So that's a pattern that I think is really important. American Ideal features a number of times there as well, as does Some Beach Somewhere. Interestingly, this is another thing as well, always talk to people and pick their brains about things, because there's a really prominent breeder told me about, this is going back quite a long time ago, about American Ideal over Art Major mares. And their opinion was that the important part, or I suppose the distinguishing part of the successful ones, the mares have also got Most Happy Fella in their pedigree. Now, if you think about Sire Tribeca, he's got Fake Left. You go down further, Centenario also got Fake Left. There was another one down here, Maximus Red also got Fake Left. So that's that Most Happy Fella blood coming through as well. So Party Major doesn't have that, so maybe that's something you take into account as well.
Right, because what you're effectively saying there is that when you look at these crosses, you're only looking at 75% of the pedigree. There's another 25% that needs to be taken into account along with the female line. Absolutely. And that's something you got to, you go to the crosses of gold. Now, obviously that gives you a snapshot, but it doesn't give you that rest of the pedigree. So that's sort of what I was saying before. The crosses of gold is really useful as a starting point, I suppose, and a quick, easy way of looking at these things. But you've got to look at the whole pedigree, because there'll be little nuggets like that someone told me about, many years ago, and it's turned out, it's 100% true. And you look through the US as well, you won't obviously see Fake Left in those maternal pedigrees, but you'll see a lot of Cam Fella, a lot of Most Happy Fella, that bloodline coming through as well. And it's quite amazing how prominent, when you get American Ideal over Art Major mares, if you go back further in the mare's pedigree, you'll get that Most Happy Fella blood coming through. So once again, you see a similar pattern. You've got the Western Ideal, the Abercrombie there, Some Beach Somewhere, successful again. Rock and Roll Heaven. Who else we've got there? Jeremy's Jet is actually been quite successful. If I Can Dream, full brother to Western Terror. So a lot of these stallions that have Abercrombie maternally. Now that's important. That's a cross that I really like. I love that, duplicating the mare sire line with the maternal lines of the stallion. You get that duplication in the middle of the pedigree, and that's something I really like, and it's been successful with a number of different stallions, but definitely with Arts Place. So, Party Major, she's currently foaled a Captain Crunch. Now that's, as I was saying, I love that duplication in the middle of the pedigree. He's obviously out of an Art Escape mare who's by Arts Place, and Art Major by Arts Place. So you get that beautiful cross. You also get, nice little cross of duplication of Rodine Hanover there through Art Major and Captain Treacherous. The other good thing about this pedigree is, this matchup, Party Major, as I said before, a small to medium-sized mare. Captain Crunch is a good size, athletic sort of stallion. I think, physically it'll be a really good matchup for her.
So yeah, that was as much a reason as well. I think that's really important, as to take that into account, because we're trying to produce athletes, and not every good horse looks good, but it's I think if you looked at most of them, it's really important. And also with this, with Paddy Major's Progeny, will be taken into the yearling sale, so we need to produce a good type, one that catches people's eyes, and I hope anyway that this Captain Captain Crunch file will be that. But anyway, that's what she's in foal to. We're not going to go back to Captain Crunch this year, but just wanted to point out what she was in foal.
Brett, the 4Xs there next after Captain Crunch Party Major, is that because the horse hasn't been born yet, not registered, or is that something else am I looking at?
Sorry, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it just means that it hasn't got a birthday. So yeah.
He wasn't drinking 4X when he made the decision either.
It's just telling me my internet connection is unstable, but we should be right. Keep going. Punch on. We're not even looking at those things. No one can see me anyway.
No, don't worry about that, Paul. Just keep charging through. So, American Ideal. This is the American Ideal pedigree. So, obviously, been a hugely successful cross, as I said before. But the thing that Paddy Major doesn't have is that most happy fella down in the bottom half of her pedigree. So that would be a bit of a concern for me. Also, he's fully booked and I don't have a booking to, but so she won't be going to American Ideal. But I just wanted to point out that I think that still could be a successful cross, but I'd just prefer it if she had that most happy fella down the bottom.
Unfortunately for you, Brett, you can't win it, but some lucky person will win a service fee to American Ideal tonight. You could have been that person, but
exactly. No, my name's been pulled out of that draw, Paul. So no favouritism here at HBB.
Yeah, and so is Cam Brown as well, just for the record.
Oh, good.
and that's only because that's the only reason. Keep going. You're right, Brett.
So. Cam and I are actually having a little bit of not a disagreement, but we haven't fully decided what Paddy Major's actually going to. But Always Be Mickey is a stone I love, and I think this is a really good cross, both physically and pedigree-wise. Obviously, he's a good-sized stone, big athletic sort of stone, suits her physically. He has crossed really well with Arts Place mares and has already left a Group 1 winner out of an Art Major mare, but you get that double up of Arts Place in the middle of the pedigree. Love that. He brings Big Towner there, as does Art Major, which I think is really important. Doubling up that has just worked successfully with a number of different horses. Always Be Mickey being an example of that, actually, because he's got through Always the Virgin and through his dam, so he's bred 3x3 to Big Towner. The other good thing about this pedigree is, obviously, as I said before, she's in Champagne Party is inbred to Albatross. That is also quite important for, if you look up here at Always a Virgin.
Yeah, 7 strains, Brett.
Yeah, so you've got lots of it, which I like. Western Hanover out of an Albatross mare, and also Always a Virgin has his second dam by Albatross. So I think that's important. So I like that. So that's the pedigree that I like. Cam, on the other hand, is a big fan of Betta'S Wish. As I mentioned before, Betta'S Delight has worked well with Art Major mares. Now, neither Cam or I are on Betta'S Delight budgets, so why not look at one of his sons? And Betta'S Wish also brings in the Arts Place maternally. So he's out of his second dam, is by Art Escape. So you've got that double up of Arts Place in the middle of the pedigree, which is good. And then you've got also the double up of BG's Bunny and double up of Albatross there as well. So you've got plenty of Albatross again, which I think is good. Albatross is quite an important stone in Betta'S Delight's pedigree, and also Paddy Major's pedigree. So those are the 2 stones that that we really like, and that's sort of what we've narrowed it down to. So I was hoping I could throw it over to the viewers, and maybe they could chuck some ideas in the comments as well to help us make the decision.
You're free to unshare your screen whenever you like, mate, and I'll bring you both back up. But we've had a few. Kerry Lee, sending a couple to Vincent. She says, "I live in hope." But if there is any questions there for Brett, he's back on screen now. Or if you want to wait till later on, as I said, we've got one comment there we will get back to as well. and we'll get back to those. But yeah, if you've got any questions for Brett, Grant Coeli says Mickey gets my bid. Is it Mickey or Mikey? I always get it wrong.
Mickey.
Okay. Alan will be watching. He'll be like, Paul, it's not that hard to get it right. But anyway, that's okay. Jared Maloney, what is the size of Betta'S Wish?
I got measured the other day on farm, 15.5. So he's not a big horse. So that would also come into consideration with her, because that's about her height as well. So, you're not going to get a big foal by him. But I think commercially, given that people know that Betta'S a lot, not always, generally on the smaller to medium size, I think you'd probably get away with that a little bit.
Warren Johnson said to send it to Tall Dark Stranger.
Thanks, Woz. Might be a little bit close. You end up with a 2x3 to up major there. So that's a little bit close for me. That's too inbred for me. Yeah. Anything close in 3x3 is too close for me.
Yeah, and they're some of the things you definitely have to look at. Like you might like Tall Dark Stranger or any horse. We're not picking on. Yep. But you definitely got to go through and just see how line ball it is, even though Nick Hooper is got a wry little grin on his face above the screen.
Everyone's got different ideas. That's the good thing about breeding, right?
Happy to say here now, Betta'S Wish Dam was a trotter.
No. Who said that?
Verna. No hope of me getting that name out. So no, it wasn't.
She's a trotter is in the colloquial sense of we're all the trots.
Yep.
But,
okay.
She was a pacer.
And sorry, Verna, for trying to say your last name. I'll go with Elkhishen. I'll go with. So Warren's still very keen for Tall Dark Stranger, but that's okay. Rightio, Mr. Nick Hooper. Now, please don't stop with. Brett. One thing I want to ask you about very quickly: Big Towner and the influence of him. Why?
Yep.
Why is he such an influence in the breeding barns here in Australia?
Nick might be able to answer this better than me because Nick's a historian of the breed, but Big Towner himself wasn't a great stallion. He was a fine stallion, but his influence as a broodmare style was just pronounced. Like he was you don't see him, like he's not that prevalent in pedigrees, but when you see him, you just love duplicating him because he's just such a strong influence through his as a broodmare sire.
Richard Mark Woodruff. Oh, you've gone early on me. He makes me look messy there for a minute, but he's actually got it up ready to go. But just quickly, Brett, I've heard a lot of so-called breeding experts' opinions. Have either of these bred a good horse? And I think that's what you're trying to get to. You can cover off on use all the tools to make your decisions.
Has either of us bred a good horse? Is that what he asked?
Have either of these breed a good horse? Yep.
I'll just, who was it, Richard? I'll just go grab my Breeders' Crown trophy for breeder. Just a minute. Hold on. I bred 2 Group 1 winners. I'm not saying I'm Ann and Bill Anderson or Bruce Edward or anything like that. But I have bred a couple of Group 1 winners.
Yeah, Richard, they are very, very well versed in this. The other gentleman who's about to start talking has actually written a book.
Exactly. He's a published author. Probably won awards as well, I'd imagine.
I apologise, guys. I didn't actually read that one didn't take it that way as it came in. Warren's coming back with another one. I think you're working for someone, not 100% sure. Pretty sure.
Warren's might be on the beers, I reckon.
Pretty sure Brett bred Nostravilla. Can you claim Nostravilla, Brett?
Yeah, no, I've bred Nostravilla.
Yep, very good. Well, you can hang your hat on that one. That'll be fine. So that'll be no worries at all. Rightio, Nick Hooper. Let's get started, mate, because I've got, what have we got? 71 slides. Is that what you said?
Sit back, pour yourself a nice red and just enjoy the dulcet tones of Nick Hooper.
So, rightio, away we go. Now, everything that Brett has said, I agree with. And so, Brett, the way Brett's done it is, generally speaking, the way that I look at it. But to give you a different perspective, I've gone to the other end of the pedigrees and I'm going to work my way back, showing people a number of things that I've identified in the makeup of the standard bred pedigrees through the successful horses over a long period of time. So, in simple terms, as I get myself sorted, with the right page here so I can click it across. Okay. This is a book that I own, and it's the trotting stock of J.C. McFerrin from back in, if you can read that down the bottom, 1886. So we're going back into the mists of time in the United States. And at that stud was a stallion called Nutwood. And I don't know if anyone reckons they've heard of Nutwood, please stick a comment in the comments, but I don't think too many would have. But he was an incredibly influential stallion. He took a record of about 2:18, doesn't seem overly fast, but he was out of a mare called Miss Russell, who was one of the broodmare gems of the stud book, and is by a stallion who I, again, don't think too many would have heard of, called Pilot Junior, who has been incredibly influential back in our deep pedigrees. Nutwood was by Belmont and is a great-great-grandson of Hambletonian 10, who we would all know, out of Miss Russell by Pilot Junior. And you work your way back into the pedigree, and it's effectively all thoroughbred back into the pedigree beyond that. This is basically about the time where the standard bred is being created, and largely comes from thoroughbred blood. Not exactly, but largely. Nutwood, standing here, also at the stud farm, was a mare called Rapidan. In 1885, by Nutwood, she had a daughter called Bye Bye. Funny old name, but she existed as a filly foal here in 1886. And why is that of great note? Because we would have all heard of the horse Adios, the great granddaddy of them all. Adios, a famous name by Haldale, but out of a mare named Adieu Volo, who was by Adieu Guy, who was actually inbred. He was out of Bye Bye's daughter Adieu, who was by Guy Wilkes, by Guy Dillon, who was out of By Guy, who was also a full sister. So we've got a very inbred setup here. I mention that because this is a pattern that you start to see back in a lot of these old pedigrees, where you see inbreeding or close breeding, or call it what you like, starting to influence some of our greatest performance. I noted Adieu down here, out of Bye Bye by Guy Wilkes. Her grandson is a horse called Dylan Axworthy. Remember that name. You're going to see his name appearing in a hell of a lot of pedigrees going forward. What's of interest here, Dylan Axworthy was actually bred 3x3 to full brothers William L. and Guy Wilkes. Let's go forward to 1892. We're now at Palo Alto Farm in California. This is the stock farm of Leland Stanford, and I'm sure most people would have heard of Stanford University in California. Stanford University is on what was the Palo Alto stock farm, and there's quite a bit of still old harness racing paraphernalia at the university. He stood the great electioneer, who by this time had died in 1890, but he was one of the great sons of Hambletonian 10, and his sire lines breed on to this day. By Hambletonian 10, he was out of a fairly short-bred mare, in the sense that they knew that she was by Harry Clay, but not much was known about the maternal side. Also at this stud farm was a mare called Esther, and she was largely thoroughbred blood, but had the ability to trot. And Esther became a broodmare of great importance to the standard bred stud book. Her grandson, a horse called Atlantic Express, was the son of Bellini, a grandson of Hambletonian 10, out of a mare by Harry Clay. So we have Atlantic Express coming from the Esther line, but inbred to Hambletonian 10 and Harry Clay. We've now jumped forward, Walnut Hall Farm. It's 1911. Lamont Harkness was the proprietor of Walnut Hall Farm, and amongst other stallions, he stood a horse called San Francisco. Not too many of you might know who San Francisco was, but he was an exceptional sire and was very successful on the track, winning the American Trotting Derby, as you can see. His pedigree, why is it of note? Because he's by Zombro, again, Hambletonian line, as all of the horses are. But if we look maternally, his dam was by Nutwood Wilkes, who was out of Leader W. but Aniska's mother was by direct line, who was also out of Leader W, so quite closely bred. What's of note, Leader W was by Nutwood. And if we go back to one of the first stallions I showed you, that was the Great Nutwood. His name keeps on appearing. The other name to keep watching for in these pedigrees are, there's a few with the Mambrino moniker. Mambrino Patchen, for starters, and his sire Mambrino Chief. There's also Mambrino Pilot. But you'll continue to see Mambrino Patchen occurring in these pedigrees as well on a regular basis, time and time again. Standing at Walnut, or being served at Walnut Hall Farm, was a mare named Mendocita. You can see that she was a daughter of Esther, who I referred to you just previously. Mendocita, daughter of Esther, her grandson was a horse called Volomite. And Volomite is one of the great names in harness racing and has sire lines of his own. And Brett, I'm pretty sure that goes down to Mach 3 and Sun Beach and the like.
It does, yeah. Very successful sire line.
Okay, so a very successful sire line, but Volomite has also been incredibly successful on the maternal side of the pedigree. His dam Cedar Frisco was by San Francisco. So what we have, very influential horse, in my opinion, at a very influential horse a little further down in Esther. Sorry, just go back. Volomite's grandsire is Peter the Great, by name and by deed. Peter the Great was a great-grandson of Hambletonian 10, out of a mare whose sire was a grandson of Hambletonian 10. Shortbred on the maternal side, didn't go back too far in some cases. But if we just trail our way through, we see Grand Sentinel, Maid of Lexington, Mambrino Pilot, his dam sire, Pilot Junior. Pilot Junior, we noted, was the dam sire of Nutwood. Pilot Medium, his dam sire, Pilot Junior. Same names keep on appearing in the very best. Peter the Great also had his own sire lines, Brett, that were extremely successful.
Yep.
And continue to this day. But also, Peter the Great was huge in the maternal pedigrees of his next generations. Going to leap forward to a stallion named Dean Hanover, who won a Hambletonian. And let's just have a look at his pedigree, because whilst he didn't really have a sire line that took off, maternally he was an absolute gem. He was by Dylan Axworthy, who we looked at previously, coming from the Adieu blood. He was by, out of Palestrina, by Atlantic Express, coming back to Esther and Electioneer. We looked at Atlantic Express a few minutes ago. We then come down deep into the pedigree, Hatteras or Hatteras, Mambrino Patchen, inbred to Mambrino Patchen 3x2, and also Betty Brown gets a couple of mentions. Is that Cam's mum, Brett, or that's right. So once again, we get these great names in the pedigree of these great horses. Mambrino Patchen, by Mambrino Chief, a very different sire line that doesn't come from Hambletonian 10. It was prominent for quite a while, but the Hambletonian 10 sire line took over. Going back into the pedigree of Mambrino Patchen, as you can see, if you can read that with the THOR, it was basically all thoroughbred. And we could delve back into that further, but we haven't got time. But you'll find it's all of those thoroughbred sources are the best thoroughbred sources that serve the thoroughbreds now as much as they serve harness racing. We're now going to jump forward a bit to 1948, and we've got the pedigree of Tar Heel. Tar Heel got a mention in your pedigrees, Brett, because we're now coming far enough forward that we're starting to hit the sixth generation of today's horses as we work our way forward.
Yep.
He was by Billy Direct, but was out of a Volomite mare. He was also came from Blood Rosette, where she was bred 3x3 to Peter the Great.
So all these names keep coming up, Nick, don't they?
All these names keep coming up as we go forward. You see them duplicating as you go forward. We then come forward to 1962 and the great Brett Hanover, named after Brett before he was born. They got the spelling wrong though, Brett. That was the problem. The great Brett Hanover is by Adios. We've spoken about Adios and his pedigree. Brett Hanover is out of a Tar Heel mare. And we can delve back into his pedigree, but there was a question asked earlier on about what is the X factor and what does it represent. In my opinion, this is where the X factor has its greatest influence through this period. If you can follow this, Brenner Hanover would have gotten an X chromosome from Tar Heel. Tar Heel must have got its X chromosome from Lita Long because it got its Y chromosome from Billy Direct. Lita Long would have got an X chromosome from Volomite and Rosette. And you can start to map it out in a zigzag way. And I'll probably need to spend another session on that next year, maybe if we're interested. But that zigzag through these horses is what is important, because you can zigzag your way through Tar Heel to Volomite to San Francisco, back to Nutwood, back to Pilot Junior. It's the sire of the damn zigzag that goes straight through and is the statistically most likely location of where that X chromosome has come from. But the dam side, Beryl Hanover, and I'll come to Miss Bertha Dillon in a sec, and a couple of these other names shortly, because they're equally as important. Jump forward to 1979, the great Cam Feller, out of a Brett Hanover mare. Here's, and there's some Most Happy Fella blood that you were talking about, Brett. So Most Happy Fella, sire of Cam Feller that you were looking for. There's plenty of that around for when you were looking at it from the other direction. Nan Frost. So Nan Frost is the second dam of Cam Feller. Let's have a look at her pedigree. By Dale Frost, out of a Raider mare. Now, Raider is of note because he was imported to Tasmania by the great Edgar Tatlow last century and did a huge job here and appears in quite a few of the depths of Australian and even New Zealand pedigrees. Who was Raider's grand dam? Dylan Axworthy. We start to see the same names appearing again, explaining their greatness. We come into Nan Frost Dam Minor Hanover by Ensign Hanover out of Helen Hanover. Let's have a look at her. Helen Hanover, one of the great broodmares, very influential, was bred 3x2 to Dylan Axworthy and 3x3 to Peter the Great. You get, in my opinion, you can see the reasons why horses like Helen Hanover became great broodmares. They got the best of Dylan, they got the best of Peter, and it was close up, and it created a boom effect in terms of the genetic jump forward. Once again, Dylan Volo, Miss Bertha Dillon, I'll come to her in a second. Most Happy Fella, the sire of Cam Feller, by the great Meadow Skipper by Dale Frost, who we talked about a second ago. She was out of a Good Time mare, a son of Hal Dale, so Most Happy Fella inbred 3x3 to Hal Dale. But if we come back deeper in the pedigree, we see Good Time was out of a Volomite mare. Guy Axworthy gets a mention. Let's have a look at Netta Guy. Netta Guy was by Atlantic Express, who we've looked at before, out of Pleasant Thought. And if we work our way back in, we find names such as Mambrino Patchen. The great Harold, who was the sire of Chilled Harold, after whom Harold Park was named. We then come all the way back down to Kathleen, who was by Pilot Junior. The same names keep on appearing. Let's march forward to everyone's favourite horse, Arts Place. He's by Abercrombie, but comes from an Albatross mare. Albatross out of Voodoo Hanover by Dancer. Hanover. Let's have a look at Voodoo. Dancer Hanover, out of a great mare called the Old Maid. Comes back to Regal McKinney from Guy Abbey. Make a note of that. McKinney, Princess Royal. We come down here and see that Queenly McKinney by McKinney out of Princess Royal is the dam of Guy McKinney. And it takes a little bit to find because it doesn't show up. But over here in the widest generation, you might be able to see my cursor pointing out Roya McKinney. The three of them are full sisters. All three of them appear in this pedigree. We also get Peter the Great. We get Tar Heel. We get Volomite. We get all of the same names appearing. Let's have a look at Queenly McKinney. By McKinney, by Alcyone, or I don't know how to pronounce that, but we can all read it. Alcyone was a full brother to Alcantara. So we've got these incredibly influential mares bred 2x3 to full brothers. We also see quite a few of the same names appearing. Mambrino Patchen, George Wilkes, all appearing in these same pedigrees. Now, if I just go back to Voodoo Hanover, we will have seen down towards the bottom a horse called Expedition. Let's go and have a look at him. Expedition by Electioneer. We've met Electioneer before. Out of a horse called Lady Russell by Harold, who we've had a chat about, son of Hambletonian. Lady Russell out of Miss Russell, the Dam of Nutwood by Pilot Jr. Once again, we get the same names reappearing in there quite often in an inbred manner. We'll just pop back a couple of pages and we'll have a look at Arts Place again. And we see that Abercrombie is out of a mare named Dwayne Hanover, and also Dwayne Hanover appears down the bottom. Lady Cackney, I'll try and pronounce it as, bit of a weird name. Let's have a look at her. By Dwayne Hanover, he is out of a Dylan Axworthy mare, who's out of a Peter the Great mare. I sound like a broken record. We then get Lady Lunken by Goose Bay. He's a granddaughter of La Paloma, a name worth noting. But once again, we come down the bottom and we see Queenly McKinney, Miss Bertha Dillon. Let's have a look at La Paloma. She's a granddaughter of Direct Hal. Her dam was also a granddaughter of Direct Hal, 2x3. We once again see Princess Royal. Princess Royal is not only the dam of sire SHK, but was the dam of the McKinley sisters, Queenly, Regal and Roya, who I pointed out previously. So you get duplications in there. Names such as Alcantara get a mention as well, George Wilkes. Miss Bertha Dillon has appeared a few times. Well, who's she by? Funnily enough, Dylan Axworthy. Adieu. Miss Bertha C, different strains of the Hambletonian line, coming back into horses such as Mambrino Patchen. I haven't spent much time on this horse, American Star, but he was also equally as influential, but we need another episode.
Only one.
Only the one, that's right. So a lot of this you're going, all right, you're meant to be talking about trotters, and all we've talked about is paces so far. Let's have a look at Valley Victory, one of the great stallions of all time. We start by seeing different names, but very quickly things change. Let's have a look at Speedster. So Valley Victory Valley Victoria, out of a Bonefish mare, dam sire Speedster. Let's have a look at him. Being by Rodney, out of Mimi Hanover, by Dean Hanover, Atlantic Express, back to Esther and Electioneer, back to Hatteras, as we talked about. On the dam side, coming through Hanover Maid, we get Queenly McKinney, and we can come even further, and I'll get you, we will see some of these names in a second when we have a look at another pedigree. Through Rodney, another name I want us to talk about is Margaret Parish. But hang on, I'll get Emily's Pride first. Let me get myself sorted. Emily's Pride by Star's Pride. He, through Mr. McElwain, back to Peter the Great, his second dam by San Francisco, Bolomite's dam sire, same names. Scotland, a wonderful sire of his time of the trotters, out of the great Roya McKinney, one of the McKinney sisters. Emily Scott. She out of May Spencer by Spencer. Emily Ellen, inbred 2. Ecstasy, another great mare. We'll look at her in a second. Margaret Parish, first of all, by Vice Commodore, he out of an Arion mare. Margaret Parish was also out of an Arion mare, bred 3x2 to Arion. What's Arion's breeding? Well, his dam sire, or by-electioneer, out of a Nutwood mare. The same names keep on appearing, and in fact, Pilot Junior appears twice. Margaret Parish, an extremely influential maternal source through pacing and trotting. Ecstasy, we're back in 1896 by Baron Wilkes, son of George Wilkes. Mambrino Patchen gets another mention. Harold gets a mention that we've spoken about. We come back through Ecstasy to Kathleen, who we saw earlier, by Pilot Junior. Same names keep on appearing in the great horses. Emily Ellen appeared in one of the pedigrees we looked at by Todd, also out of an Arion mare. And we come back again, another electioneer source, Bo Bells, his son. Minnie Ha-Ha, haven't talked about her, but she has great influence as a maternal line. In fact, people may know horses by the Minnie Ha-Ha maternal line. But once again, we see Alcantara, we see Harold, we see Midnight, and who's Midnight by Pilot Junior. Same names. Let's come a little further forward to Muscle Hill by Muscles Yankee, Speedy Crown mare. He by out of an American Winner mare. Let's have a look at BJ's Pleasure. BJ's Pleasure by Speedy Somoli, out of a Star's Pride mare. We looked at Star's Pride a fraction ago, noted that he has sources through Mr. McElwain to Peter the Great and San Francisco. Hoot Mon goes back through Tilly Tonka to the Old Maid. Lark Hanover goes back to Dean Hanover. I'll get you to, we'll have a look in a sec at Loretta Hanover, but also just note Justissima, who sits down here as the dam of Nibble Hanover. But just also note Spencer Scott and the like as well. Lots of names here, you're probably getting dizzy. Hootmon, Royal McKinney, Guy Abbey, Regal McKinney, Tilly Tonka and Spencer, Peter the Great, Dean Hanover through Lark Hanover, Guy Day back through Peter the Great, Eva's Girl by Dylan Axworthy, and Eva Tankay by Peter the Great. Source after source after source of the best blood. Justissima by Justice Brooke out of Expectation. She also happens to be a great-great-granddaughter of Expectation, so bred 2x4 to that mare. If we have a look back at Muscle Hill just for a sec, you'll note that his second dam is Hickory Pride. Hickory Pride by Stars Pride out of Misty Hanover. Misty Hanover is by Dean Hanover. Twilight Hanover by Mr. McElwain to Peter the Great. Rose Scott, who's out of Roya McKinney, one of the McKinney sisters. The same sources are leading to the best blood. The beauty of Hickory Pride is that he and his his half-brother appear in quite a few of our pedigrees down here. Hickory Smoke, and that'll appear in a sec when we have a look at that. The other thing to note in the red is Hickory Pride's got 2 sources of Esther as well, Dolomite and through Atlantic Express to Dean Hanover. So good old Esther gets a couple of mentions. So we come to Max, my old mate Gluteus Maximus. By Muscles Yankee, out of a Chiola Hanover mare, out of a Tuft mare, out of a Jerry Adios mare. Most of the focus here, I think, can be through the centre of the pedigree, where we get a fair bit of red duplication. We get Hickory Pride. We get his brother, half-brother, Hickory Smoke. So you can see the Misty Hanover by Dean Hanover. And then Hickory Smoke is by the Great Titan, the first 2-minute trotter in North America, out of Tisma Hanover. Tisma Hanover, the second dam of Tuft. Who's her dam? Justissima, who we visited a little earlier on. Tuft, a very influential sire out of New Zealand. Chiola Hanover, in my opinion, the same. The Stars Pride blood, the Hoopmond blood, and just for the good record, a bit more Dean Hanover as well. You see Chiola Hanover and Tuft in a lot of our best trotters in the Southern Hemisphere. So a few years ago, Paul and I bred Trixton to Gluteus Maximus and got Utopia. And I think he's not far away from coming back to the races, touch wood. And he didn't prove to be the best 2-year-old last year, but he did well enough winning 2 Group 3s and breaking 2 minutes, which is pretty handy for any 2-year-old. So there was a comment there saying, am I going to breed to another Utopia and he's pretty inbred? Well, the answer is yes, I am. And do I care? No, I don't. I couldn't give 2 hoots because I think the evidence is that breeding, as much as Brett has a different opinion, and that's the beauty of breeding, I hold a view that 2x3 to the right horses is nothing to worry about. And I think there's plenty of evidence that it is not a bad thing to do.
Also, Nick, the trotters are far more inbred, especially in America, I should say, not in Europe, but in America, they're far more inbred than the pacers.
I think, look, that's probably true. And I think that with the European blood, it actually gives it an outcross that will assist. So am I advocating that everybody breeds every horse 3x2 to, in every breeding? Absolutely not, because we would soon breed ourselves into a corner. But when you have a closed book, the more you inbreed, every generation gets closer to us having a problem. There's no doubt about that. And there are many, many examples of outcross horses that go extremely well. So I'm not suggesting anything that we should all do this. All I'm saying is I'm not scared by it and I'm prepared to do it. And I think there's enough evidence to show that it can work.
Just before you do go on, Nick, we had Bruce Edwards on there a few weeks ago, and that was one of his things. He is completely opposite to you. He goes the outcrosses. He thinks we are too. I
need to have a chat to Bruce because the way he's using the term I don't think is correct. Yeah. Because when you look at his horses, they aren't outcrosses. They mightn't have crosses in the first 2 or 3 generations, but quite a few of his had crosses in the 4th and 5th generation, which I don't consider an outcross as much as pretty much normal breeding these days.
Okay. Unless you breed a trotter to a pacer or vice versa, you've got basically no chance of having an outcross nowadays. If you bred some European trotters to a horse with Australian and North American blood, you'll get very close to it, but that's as close as you'll get.
Yeah.
One thing I've always found interesting as well with the trotters, you're talking about the inbreeding, it has led to poorer fertility in their stallions, which is something probably we don't need to worry about too much down here, but the trotting stallions have generally poorer fertility than the pacers.
Mm-hmm. That's it. I'll take your word on that.
Yeah.
So we're going back to Trixton this year, but I need to admit that that's partly because I have a service that I need to use. And with all respect to our friends at Nebeliar, who've got a booking to Father Patrick, I need to explain why I thought Father Patrick, and you could also say Pastor Stephen for exactly the same reasons.
Just so people are aware, they're full brothers.
Correct, that's right.
Just so we're aware, Nick, it just took us back to 1852.
Well, that's right.
And you're actually now just using a free service.
That's right. But it explains why I went there in the first place.
Good reasons any, right?
That's it. Bloody oath. Father Patrick. All right. This goes to one of your ways of looking at things. This comes off the Nebeliar website, and these are the best North American progeny of Father Patrick. And over here on the right, in the brackets, they've got the name of the broodmare sire. And if you have a look down here, there are 22, the best 22 were listed, and 11 of them are by Muscles Yankee or Yankee Glide, and another 3 of them are by Muscle Hill, who's obviously a son of Muscles Yankee. So all of a sudden you go, hang on a minute, you got 50% of the best horses are by those 2. Why is that important? Yankee Glide is by Valley Victory out of a Speedy Crown mare out of a Hickory Pride mare. Muscles Yankee is by Valley Victory out of Speedy Crown out of a granddaughter of Hickory Pride. The 2 of them are so closely bred that it's not funny. And so when I saw that strike rate, and there's already some evidence for the Muscles Yankee line with Father Patrick going okay here in the Southern Hemisphere, I thought, well, that's something that, needs to be seriously considered. And so if we're thinking about Pastor Stephen, who's the full brother, he's really only stood in Europe to date and hasn't had access to the Muscles Yankee line. Well, we don't have much Yankee Glide blood here, but the Valley Victory line, I'll call it, or the Muscles Yankee line. And I think that Pastor Stephen, who's now going to stand in the States as well, a bit like his full brother, Father Patrick, will probably do quite well with the Muscles Yankee line blood that we have here, and there's plenty of it. So to round that out and give Nebeliar and Lowalong Farm a pat on the back, I think that those 2 stallions will go well with a lot of our mares who've got that Muscles Yankee blood in them. So it's something that I think I've got another mare who's a daughter of Sky Valley, who's a son of Muscles Yankee, and she's going to go to Pastor Stephen this year, partly for that reason. So if there's anybody left...
there's plenty. Don't worry. No, I'm going to be all serious for a second. I'm going to go to me so you can get yourself out of that screen when you're ready, Nick.
Sorry, there was one more. Sorry, how did that get in there?
That's actually a bit of bad luck there. I flicked off it before and went to flick back and you'd already gone off it. There is a stack of people actually still online, and which is really, really good. And I think it proves how interesting what you are saying is. It's a hard way to put a seminar together the way we have, and being able to get people to interact in between would be a lot easier, I suppose, if we had have done these like we're going to do the live seminars. But the breed's just constantly coming back over and over. That's one of the things that you hang your hat on as a breeder, Nick. Yet it's also a proven sort of formula because it keeps coming through as well.
Well, and look, I think what Brett and I have provided here is 2 different ways of looking at it. And as I say, just with that last example with Father Patrick, Brett's technique is the technique that I use as well. But what Brett was looking for and noting with the duplications and the like to the very best blood is effectively, I've come at it from the other direction, but just to show that the very best blood layers itself on top of each generation, and exactly where you place it in the pedigree, people will have different views. Some people want it back in the 4th or 5th or maybe even the 6th generation for the duplications rather than 2nd or 3rd or maybe the 4th. So, but I think the evidence is there that these duplications work, they're important, and it's a question of how you wish to employ them is my take.
Very good. G went and got a glass of wine. I hope Hope she's only on the first glass, because it could be, there's a little bit of... There might have even been a bit of nutwood in that wine. You never know. So was he a name I had to remember? Yeah, he was, wasn't he? Alexander Hurley. I didn't put this one in while you were talking there before, Nick. But when my grandfather stood Lord Grace at Stud a million years ago, he got me to write up to 8 generational pedigrees, all for those mares that went to him. I also did them for horses we raced, and others that I liked, and other people raced. Most of these names are familiar, Nick. That just re-emphasises exactly what you were saying. Like Alex is, going back a little while.
Yep.
Alex is only 21, so it's not going back that far. But she's a lot of these names were coming back for her when she was doing something for her grandfather, which would have been the way they would have researched that back in the day too, I'd imagine.
We are so lucky that we live in an era where you can click buttons rather than write them all out. It's but in some ways clicking on buttons makes you lazy. I'm sure Alex, by writing them all down, they were ingrained in her memory for sure, and there's the evidence. Yep.
And Graham Riley, please, anyone's got any questions? Graham Riley, I've just booked my Muscles Yankee mare to Tomoko. Nick?
Well done, fantastic. I mean, I'm really interested to see how Tomoko is going to go out here. Loved him as a racehorse. Effectively, without having looked at it, and knowing what the maternal side of the mare is, it's going to be largely outcrossed, because Tomoko is just about all French blood. But he's got quite a few on the ground, and done okay in Europe. So good luck.
I have plenty of hats here. I didn't have me Tomoko one, but he was a two-time Elite Lot winner, I believe. So
that he was. Gotta love Tomoko.
And they go differently. Rightio, so we don't have a lot of other questions coming in for you just as we speak, Nick, but we're not finished. I have to go back to this frozen semen question that I did say I'd get back to, and we won't spend a lot of time on it once I can find it. We've had some questions come in, so that is very good. I can't find it. I am sorry, Nellie Melba. I'll have to try and find that. We've got one more question just come through. Give me a sec. Yes, outcrossing, but good record with the Muscle Yankee. That's Graham Riley again. Can you see that question I had to do, Brett, or not? I can't find it now. No. It's disappeared off my feed altogether, so Nellie might have taken that down. Sorry about that. I will keep going there. You were saying there before about outcrosses and the likes with the Europeans coming to the Australians, and you get a good opportunity of having those outcrosses. Is that one of the issues too, though, with these European stallions, just trying to work out what crosses do work, or does that go back to these research tools that you can use?
I think it's a little bit harder, because if you're looking back into Europe for comparable examples, you're going to struggle to find them, because the pedigrees maternally of the European mares are so different to ours. There won't be a lot of evidence for you to follow. So if that's where you want to go, then that's fine. That's no issue. You're probably going to have to ignore that as part of your test, and you're going to have to look at more things like type. What do you know about the stallion? What will they bring to your mare that improves her weaknesses? So looking at it from that perspective, rather than necessarily looking for some magic in the pedigree.
I think that question may have been taken down. So Nellie, if you are watching and you have taken it down, that's okay. But if not, just send it back through to me, because I honestly can't find that at all.
Going back to that question, sometimes I don't know. Look, complete novice when it comes to European breeding. Don't admit that I don't know everything about it at all. But maybe the Swedish, you can look maybe to Sweden for examples, because they've obviously got the American influence in their stud book. So you get some of that crossover there with the French blood and the American mares. It's happening a bit more in America now, like in the last, say, 5 years. It's definitely happening more. But yeah, when you look at those French stones and you look at what they're bred in France, well, it's often just completely different to what our blood is. So yeah, I'd maybe look to Sweden and to the US for some of those examples a little bit. But yeah.
And that is something I know Anton and Nate's talk about, is those Franco-American horses, and there's a lot of different breeds, and they've been proven that they do seem to, those crosses do seem to work as well. So that people are looking at different crosses as we go all the time. Damien Saxon, hey guys, enjoying the info. What's the AI breeding fees worth these days? And he's written 500 to 1,000. Brett, I'll fire that one at you. I'm not sure if you can answer that though or not.
Yeah, it's about that. It's about in between those. It'll depend on where you go, but yeah, you're looking at in between 500 and 1,000 roughly. Some are a little bit more, and if you go frozen, it's a little bit more expensive again. But somewhere in that, I'd say somewhere between 500 and 1,500. If you're looking, that would cover everyone. So including frozen, I would say. But you're looking in that rough figure. Obviously, frozen's a little bit, it's a little bit more technical. You've got to get it inseminate closer to ovulation, so it's more involved, so that's why it's a little bit more expensive than the chilled.
Anyone watching the feed, I'm just going to ignore Warren's messages because he's having a bit of a hard night, I think, so he's getting himself very, very confused with both feeds. Not being rude, we'll catch up with Warren at some stage. Grant Koali, when looking at a 3x3 duplication, how much bearing do you personally place on MF mix? Hopefully one of you guys know what that is. Or is the 3x3 is solely on the M side?
Probably means male female there, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, in my opinion, the best place is in the middle of the pedigree. So the sire of the dam of the sire, and the dam's sire's sire, so that it's the 3x3 in the middle. So if that makes sense, we might have to show it diagrammatically, but that's where I think it's best. Brett, I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, I agree as well. Yeah, that's where I like to see it. Obviously, it can work the male to male, like Utopia was 2x3, but no, I prefer to see it in that middle of the pedigree. Sort of like always a Mickey over Party Major with that arts place in the middle. See that. So that's where I prefer it.
Got a couple of things. Damien Saxon just said thanks, Brett. So you're welcome, mate. And please, anyone else got any questions? Fire them in. This Zoom meeting is actually scheduled to go for another hour and 12 minutes, and I am being serious. So don't you worry one bit about that. We can keep going. Nick, just before I get to Jenny Lewis's, and Grant says thank you as well. Jenny Lewis's comment there. When you breed Utopia and you breed it so close, do you hope for a colt or a filly? Like, is there one over the, I think everyone hopes for a colt. I think because we all want to have, back to what Brett said there before, we want to win the Inter-Dominion with a big strong colt. But when you do these crosses, are you hoping for one over the other?
Not necessarily. And with at that time we wanted a filly because she'd had two colts before then. But being bred down the male lines, it was more of a didn't care from a pedigree perspective. If I'm breeding so that you get, say, 3x3 in the middle, for example, I'm probably hoping for a filly, to be honest, because I think that'll help with that filly's breeding power going forwards. It's only a theory, it's only an opinion, but to answer your question, that's what I would be looking for. But it is what it'll be what it'll be.
Rightio. Jenny Lewis, this was fantastic. I have a bad boy Truscott mare who, with pacing blood on the maternal side, that has made it hard to know what to look for in a stallion. I feel I can go back and have another look with all this information, and I'm sure, Jen, if you catch up with either Nick or Brett, they would be only more happy to. I'm not sure if you're aware, Jen, but Nick has written a book about these sort of things too, so you can definitely go there. This is meant to be.
That is hard, like the in Australia especially, stallions. The trotter and the pacing blood, like, it is hard to match up. It's not, it's a difficult thing. I would concentrate personally on the trotting part of it more so than the pacing. Just concentrate on the trotting. Like, if you've got to, like, I always remember La Cucaracha when she went to start, and she obviously fully pacing bred, but trotted like the wind. So, but I think she showed that you hammer home that trotting blood. Don't worry about the pacing side of it, and it will take care of itself. So that's what I would say. Concentrate on the trotting quarter of a pedigree, I suppose, or half of a pedigree, I should say. So.
And she's a great one, Brett, because one, she's gone on to be a champion mare and left nothing but trotters, but had very closely related brothers, half brothers. Even I think there was one that was even a bit closer than that. Was and they paced and they couldn't trot much at all. So she's a really great sort of case study, isn't she, Cookie?
Yeah, well, they bred. I'm pretty sure her first 4 foals they bred 2 and 2, I think, from memory. I know she had a Christian Cullen. I just can't remember, but yeah, she was a trotter, and she was going to leave trotter, so that's what they ended up doing. And then when Pat got hold of her, she went to another level.
Yep, and it's just that's, I think, gets back to half the part of this whole show is that breeding is fun. There's no set rules. There's no, we all have our theories, but there's no actual dead set rule. Got to go back here a little bit. .G, as a new breeder, this has encouraged me to look at the site's resources. When I started, I began with a mare that had a good racing career and chose a stallion that also had a good racing career. Maybe I was searching. Maybe I was searching for good luck. So look, again, what the boys are saying here tonight is not set in stone by any stretch. Sometimes going to the best with the best is nearly the best answer.
Genetically, it's a lottery. Just because you've got full brothers or sisters, they can be completely different. So they'll have the same pedigree, but they'll be different horses. So because of the way that the genes all match, so it's not a fixed science. We know that for sure and certain.
Graham Riley's gone to bed by the looks. Thanks, boys, for the great session. I've had to bail out. Very interesting. I'd love to see it. G, I have a good look at what the hill Charlotte Galleon cross should work. So, yeah, Jared's getting involved. That's fine. I think I may have missed another one. Nope, I'm still going. We've got a Brett Nick one here. This is from Harness Breeders Victoria, so you boys will know where this comes from. What elements of the process, if any, would you give more weight to if you were looking to produce a foal for a commercial sale?
For a commercial sale, I would suggest you go do some research of the past 3 or 4 sales and find out what's selling. And that's both from a sire point of view and also from a family point of view. Look at the pedigrees, see what sells well. Look at the stallions, see what they're producing, what they sell well. It's not going to give you an exact answer going forward, but it gives you, a pretty strong indication of what might happen going forward. It's no fun taking horses to the sale that you don't get bids on and you have to bring home. It's absolutely no fun at all most of the time until they turn out to be a good racehorse down the track. But so I would say look at what has worked and then be realistic with your mare and go forward with that information.
I agree with what he said.
It's just a little bit more onto that. It was one of the more unique things I found this year at one of the sales, and they are actually on and watching. I won't say their names, but effectively they had a stallion that up until they got to the sales, they thought it was going to be a very popular stallion, but they just fell out of favour for whatever reason, and they weren't selling on that day. So that's one of the tricks about breeding a commercial horse. It can be very tricky, can't it, Brett?
It can, yeah, and don't commercial sale results, are not a definitive guide to racetrack performance, and you'll get stallions that, are good stallions, but they don't sell well for whatever reason. Trainers don't like them. Trainers are fickle creatures. They want, they have one horse, it's no good. They hate all of them by that stallion. They have one that they got and it's great, and they love all of them by that stallion. I'm not blaming them for that. That's just, that's what they do, and they influence buyers. So trainers also want horses that are easy to get along with, and don't try and kick you out of the cart. And I can't blame you for that because I wouldn't want to be kicked out of a cart at all. But sometimes, horses take time, and some take more, training than others. So.
Well, I'll give you an example I was talking to someone else about the other day. Shortly after Some Beach Somewhere became available out here in Australia, there was one season at the yearling sales where everyone was off him. They're no good. You can't break them in. They won't go a yard. They're buggers to train. And his numbers fell off a cliff. until about 3 months later when they all start winning the Breeders' Crown and the Vic Bred, and all of a sudden everyone realised that they'd been a bunch of idiots the previous sales period, because he's now one of the great stallions of all time. So I'm not saying that some of them weren't hard to train. I'm sure that was true. But it just goes to show how fickle fashion can be when it comes to standard breds. You make a decision for when, now for selling in 2.5 years' time, and you just hope like hell that you guess right.
I remember everyone saying they lack high speed. The sub-beach subways, they did lack high speed. You just wound them up and just let them keep rolling. They didn't slow off and become now a breeding sensation. He's a great one for the Stallions, because at the minute in North America he's got the 3 leading sires in the 2-year-old ranks: Seaside, Treacherous, and actually stood at Empire Stud, and it's just left me for Huntsville. Thank you very much, Brett. So yeah, all by Sunbeach. So, and they're probably things that people should look at, because there's now becoming a lot of Sunbeach Somewhere Sun standing here in Australia, especially this year, Brett.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but so I think you just need to be realistic, and also with that, don't overbreed your mare hoping that that's going to make all the difference. Like, you don't. It's a real fine balance, and you got to, if you're breeding commercially like it is, I would suggest just start with the best mare you can. Like, that's put all your resources into getting the best mare you can, and then work from there.
One just before we get on, we'll get on to these lucky prizes and the likes in very, very shortly. But at Peter Craven actually was telling me with their mares, Brett, they only breed every 2nd year with those.
Yep.
And you just mentioned then about overbreeding. Do you put a lot of merit into that sometimes people...
No, not. Well, it depends on your situation. By overbreeding, sorry, I meant like putting, a mare you bought for $500 in for a Betta'S Delight. So just not being realistic with how good your mare is, I suppose, because you're not going to get that. You're not going to get the money back at the sales. But no, like it's probably a bit more of an older school of thought. Not saying that they're right or wrong. The Cravens bred a lot of good horses. And they can maybe, they've got their property there, maybe they can afford to breed them every 2nd year. But I think most people, well, one, wouldn't have the patience to breed every 2nd year, and 2, wouldn't want to keep a mare empty, every 2nd year. But sometimes it's a good thing, and it keeps your mares fresh, I suppose. And sometimes also mares only go and foal every 2nd year. Some mares are just that's what they choose to do, and there's no point fighting it. So you just roll with them. I
think Pixel Perfect, she's got every year and just keeps producing, so does a great job. Murphing, it seems that breeders don't use the same stands. This is a good question, actually. And mares, very often, if they breed a good one, is this true and why? And it's I think it's one of those, it gets back nearly to Nick that he is going back with that cross, but a lot of people won't, will they, Brett?
No, I don't know why, though. I don't know why. It's just an old wives' tale to me. I'll definitely, if I breed a good horse, go back to it for sure. Like, people always say, oh, they're never going to produce one as good. Well, no, I was going to say no swear word there, but like, if your mare leaves a good horse, the chances of it leaving another good horse by a horse that good anyway, slim. Like, if your mare left, I don't know. Whoever, I can't think of a good horse off the top of my head, 888, like, the chances are that mare's not going to leave another horse as good as 888 again. That's just reality. But she might leave another really good horse by American Ideal. It might not be quite as good as 888, but it might still be an above average horse. There's been plenty of examples of full brothers and sisters being good horses. They might not be as good, but we're trying to produce an above average horse. And I would go back. Definitely. If I bred a good horse by a stone, I'd go back definitely.
You don't have any issues?
Well, it was suggested to me some years ago that the correct way from this person was you do your research and you make your decision based upon your research, not fashion, not whim research, and then breed that mare to the same stallion 3 times, because you're going to get something genetically different each time. That you should do it 3 times, because if you believe in your research, you should then back it up by backing up that mating and giving yourself a chance to breed a real good horse.
Yeah. That's actually very interesting and a unique way of looking at it, and it probably makes sense. Like you say, if you are really keen on American Ideal, you back yourself and book him in for 3 years in a row, and I'm sure that'll make Mark Hughes very, very happy if you do that. Makes his job a lot easier. Brett's sitting there in the bottom and said, well, it would make life easier. But correct me if I'm wrong, but Gammalite, they always said he was a freak and all the rest. Alphalite was a terrific horse. If his older brother wasn't Gammalite, he would have been remembered as one of the greats of the industry as well.
Yeah.
So, very, very good.
You're dating yourself there a little bit, Paul.
Yeah, you're dealing with a couple of young blokes here, Paul.
Very, very funny. Desiree's got back in with another one. Is there an easy way to combine progeny of a New Zealand mare who has been bred in both countries, or is a progeny race in both countries, vice versa? So she's saying, basically, how hard is it to work it out? If you're breeding from a New Zealand mare to Australia, can you cross them over easier? Which is the best website?
No is the answer, I think. I think you've got to, sometimes you get the full lot on the Australian one, and other times you've got to go looking into Harness Racing New Zealand, Brett. I haven't found a way of being absolutely certain that you're getting all the info.
Most of the time you get, on harness.org.au, you get the record of the horse, so you will get that. You can't look at all their racing history, but you will get their record. Harness Web is different, and you don't, I'm pretty sure, but harness.org, you do get, if the mare's had 4 foals in New Zealand and 4 foals in Australia, you get the full 8 foals and their record. But it won't have their, when you click on that horse, it won't have their full race record, I suppose, if that makes sense from the New Zealand side of it.
Look, I have seen that. I've also seen situations where they'll show 3 of them here in on Australia, and then you go and find out that they had another 2 in New Zealand. So I found that to be not 100% full.
Okay.
And I do know, dealing with Cambrai, that there is one of the other hats that I wear, it's down there on the floor somewhere, is that does happen a little bit more regularly as well. Sometimes they'll be looking and I said, no, that's wrong, and they come back to me and they're like, yeah, it is. So unfortunately, there is a little bit of a trick. Actually, before I go to any me time, before we get onto that, you'll like this one, what I've got down here, Nick, too. Alexander Hurley, Pastor Stephen and Father Patrick, full brothers that go, okay, she's actually right. So she's actually answered the question before, yeah. Sons of Amor Angus were pretty good as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Angus Hall, Andover Hall, Trixton's out of a full sister. It's great examples of where the best blood just didn't fail.
Before we go on to these the Stallions, I've actually got, and you can see that, you guys can't see that if I go that way for you guys. It's actually the Australian trotting record. My wife's been going through a little bit of her parents' stuff, but it's got the Australian sires list. This is back for 1964, 1965, and Champa sired 78 winners for that season there. I've gone through Gay Reveler's one that I do know, Lawn Raider, there's Stormaway. I will be giving this to Noel Ridge. His name popped up a little bit earlier, but it's absolutely amazing bit of memorabilia, I must say, and it's got horses standing at stud. Dusty Miller was standing at stud. There was quite a few. Couldn't see anything of Nick Hooper there in any way. There is that Champa?
There's a picture of Champa.
So he must have been a fair enough stallion, was he?
He had 307 winners.
Wow, 78 of those were in the 64-65 season. I'm happy to say that. So
he won the 1950 New Zealand Cup, according to this book.
Do you know?
Well, he's not reading out of his own book now. What are we doing here?
Okay, children, it's bedtime now.
Exactly.
I reckon
I'll tell you what, this will put people to sleep. Don't worry about that.
Well, this could be a regular show, this. But I mean, G's worried about how much wine I drink. I got some bad news. I'm a soak. You're in all sorts of trouble. So,
we might have to do this draw now.
Yes, we will.
Time for the draw.
2 hours.
Rightio. So I've got to get it up to Nick. So you're ready to go there, Nick? Have you got your little prop? I mean, you're ready with everything to go?
I'm ready here, yes.
Right, you're away, mate. You're on screen, so it's all yours now.
Well, all right. So first of all, we'll do the American Ideal draw.
With Ned Kelly.
We can see Beardy Boy, Mark Hughes. There we go, looking resplendent in his COVID beard there.
I think he was proud of that beard.
That's great.
Very nice looking beard.
I'm only throwing rocks because I can't throw a beard. So now, hang on.
In this bag, I've got all of the names of our members who either nominated for either draw or nominated for the Pacers draw. We've taken out all of the people who are ineligible to win, such as committee members, sponsors, reps, you name it. And Paul, I think people need to know that there are some conditions with this. It's not transferable. They cannot sell it. No. It must be used this year and there is no free return. And if you don't have a mare, go and buy one. And
can I also, before you draw it out, we've got to say a huge thank you to Woodland Stud, as well as Barrostock and KER. And I know you're keen to get that out of there. This is a $12,500 service fee. So from Harness Breeds, from my point of view, talking to you guys from Harness Breeds Victoria, well done to you guys. Shows how far this association has come and the trophies that people are prepared to put up. Well done to Woodland Stud for committing to this. They didn't have to because this was for the open seminar. So congratulations to those. We will give Kath McIntosh a wrap in a minute, but I think we've got to always thank our sponsors, and well done to Woodlands for sticking fat with this one, saying they're going to do it. So there we are. Right, Nick, you can do the rest of the build-up and draw the name out. You have. Have a look how thin it is. I told you not to cut them so small.
Oh, jeez. I said I was going to take out those who shouldn't win. I don't know that Alan Galloway. Sorry, Alan. I don't think we can have Alan winning this. That's terrible. How am I going? There's 400 of the buggers in here and I pull out Alan's name. All right, draw number 2. Sorry, Alan, I owe you a drink or a meal or something. Fair dinkum. All right, the winner is Peter Fitzgerald.
Congratulations, Peter. Alan's already in. He's written ha ha ha. So he's come back in very, very good. Sorry, who was that again? Peter Fitzgerald?
Peter Fitzgerald, yes.
Well done, Peter. You have won a free service fee. I'm starting to sound like one of these game shows. To American Ideal, they had at $12,500. Thank you very much to Woodlands for their continued sponsorship and the rest. We're not putting it back in, Alan. It's actually been removed. Al said to put it back in, but no, it's been redrawn. So thank you very much for that too, Alan. You're a great sport going there. Rightio. Up next.
All right. Now we've got Pastor Stephen with the old Kath with the big grin.
Can I just get you to repeat something you just said?
Yes.
Old Kath McIntosh. Is that what you just said?
No, I don't think I said that.
I might have to go for an action replay, but I've got a funny feeling you might have.
I might have said old mate, but anyway, no, geez, I'll be in trouble if I did. Can you cut that out if I did, please?
No chance. I'm going to cut it and re-edit it and just play it over and over. It's a lot better. Right, this is for a free service to Pastor Stephen, who we've given a bit of mention to tonight as well, and rightfully so. And congratulations to everyone involved with Lower Long Farms, formerly. Dot G has just said yes, he did. So I'm tipping you did say that.
I haven't received a rude text message from her yet.
It is on its way. So this is Pastor Stevens, valued at $6,500, standing at Northern Rivers Equine. Sorry, no, it's not. Standing at Lower Long Farms, formerly Northern Rivers Equine. Dr. Kath McIntosh. Congratulations, and the winner is Peter Watkins. So from HBV. So
no. That would be Peter Watkinson.
Oh, very good.
This is Peter Watkins.
I was wondering why you weren't saying this one's got to go back in. So that's fine. Peter Watkins, you have won the free service fee to Lower Long Farms. As I said, kindly donated by. Free service fee to Pastor Stevens, kindly donated to by Lower Long Farms, formerly Northern Rivers Equine, and Dr. Kath McIntosh. And she's been a bit of the brainchild behind a lot of these too. She definitely wanted to have the open seminars where we could get everyone together, have a few drinks, have a few nibblies and the likes. They're on for next year, that's for sure, isn't it?
Yeah, and we should thank Kath because she put in a hell of a lot of work to get everything up and running. It's been very disappointing for her and for all of us that we couldn't. We all know why. Hopefully we've had some good sessions online again that people have enjoyed, and we'll have another crack next year.
You'd be happy to know Jackie Ingham's not going to tell Kath. She works for us. She's going to know by tomorrow morning. But Kath's been on, so I reckon you're not far off.
I'm in trouble.
You're in a whole world of hurt. Don't you worry about that. Guys, thank you very much. Congratulations to both the winners. You guys will be getting contacted very, very shortly. Dot G says, you're welcome, Dot. Thanks for another excellent long Nick session. Yes, he is very, very long. I reckon, Brett, one day I'm going to, and Duncan was on, I reckon if I sat Duncan and Nick down on one of these interviews, I wouldn't have to say anything. And I can talk a lot, but we would be going till about midnight without a worry in the world.
Yes, definitely.
Jared Maloney, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contribution. Guys, Nellie Melba, you're welcome too. Thank you guys for joining me. I've loved doing these. I reckon they're a lot of fun. This one was a little bit different, and in all seriousness, I had a massive power outage just before or just after 6 o'clock. Come back up, went again. So thankfully it all got up and running on time. I have had a few other issues as well. Alan Galloway said, great show, gentlemen. Thank you very much. He's obviously talking about me and Brett. He couldn't be talking about Nick when he says gentlemen. Charles Gucci, awesome guys. Jackie says, thanks, Paul, Brett, and Nick. Murthing, thank you. All going. Thank you very much, guys, for contributing to it. And from my point of view, from Campbell's comments, thanks for allowing me to bring these, because I think they're a lot of fun. I love breeding. I think breeding is cool. It's a great little catch cry that someone's come up with, and I really do enjoy it. But I think what you guys from Harness Breeders Victoria are doing, I think, is terrific.
No, and thank you, Paul, for your carriage of each of these shows. It's been really well done, and we've now got through 2 hours without anything blowing up, so probably best we get off and say goodnight to everybody before something does go wrong.
Jenny Lewis, you're welcome. She said, wonderful show. Alex Hurley, this has been fun, informative. Thanks to Brett and Nick for this and all the times I message them about breeding. So you might get a few more refreshers by the sounds, but that's all right, curls. That's all fine. Apparently they call her curls. I don't know where that one comes from either. Gentlemen, thank you very much. This has been Breed to Succeed 2021. It's been a lot of fun, and I really appreciate your input. Thanks for giving us a bit of time and a lot of fun. Congratulations to our two winners, Peter Watkins and Peter Fitzgerald. Am I right? Yep, very well.
Yes, you are.
Congratulations to those guys. Thank you very much, Barrostock, Woodland Stud, Lower Long Farms, and Kentucky Equine. This has been Breed to Succeed 2021. We're signing off right now.